Hey guys, Harrison101 back at it once again for a brand new video for you. And, well, what an interesting race. Now, I don't normally do this, where I've actually done 3 videos in 3 days, back to back to back. So, consider yourself, you guys, very, very lucky, because I like to space out my uploads a little bit more. But, on this one, I saw an exception to the rule. I thought this was such a special incident that it was actually worth making its own video out of. I didn't have time to explain every different circumstance of this during my race review yesterday, and it was obviously filmed before the results of the steward's inquiries had come through. But in case you weren't aware already, Romain Grosjean has been suspended for 1 race. He will not take place at the Italian Grand Prix this weekend. Pardon me, mic issues there, but yeah, okay. But yeah, he will not take part in the Italian Grand Prix. Jerome D'Ambrosio will replace him for the Italian Grand Prix. He's been suspended as a result of causing a collision. The collision, obviously, at the start of the race that he and Hamilton had, which subsequently took out Sergio Perez and Fernando Alonso as well. Of course, significant damage as well to the car of who was it now? I think it was Kamui Kobayashi as well, was also affected by the crash. Now, I've watched this about 10 or 15 times now, and the start is a difficult one to comprehend. It's not your average Formula 1 start. First of all, it's Spa. It's a short rundown to the first corner. It's uphill, so and as well, it doesn't help because it makes the corner relatively blind when there's Formula 1 cars in front of you. Also, 2 things you got to bear in mind. Pastor Maldonado jumped the start. That was proven. He was given a 5-place grid penalty for it. So Maldonado jumped the start. So clearly he's got a part to play in this, because let's be honest, if you saw a flying Williams off the start line and his name was Pastor, you'd get out of the damn way. Given his reputation in this season already, it's not a good sign for someone like him to be doing that. But yeah, Pastor jumped the start, which could easily influence the decisions of other cars ahead of them. Not to mention Kamui Kobayashi, who was starting in second, was extremely slow off the line, to the point where Grosjean was going to pass him off the line, so he had to swing to the right to avoid Kobayashi's slowing car. Now, obviously he overdid it because he tagged Hamilton in the process. Hamilton, did he see him? Did he not see him? I don't know. Hamilton hasn't said anything about it. Probably for the best. He probably would play the race card otherwise. But Hamilton hasn't said whether he saw Grosjean or not. In my opinion, he probably did, because Grosjean was ahead of Hamilton when they collided with each other. So there's a good chance that Hamilton did see him. Now, Grosjean has put Hamilton in a very difficult situation. It's either yield or crash. Now, yielding comes with its own set of problems, i.e., what about the cars behind you? Now, Hamilton has every right to stick to his position on this one. He has every right not to yield to Grosjean here, but if he doesn't yield, he has to know there's probably going to be contact here. So, you know, it's common sense at the end of the day. Who to blame, who not to blame? I think Maldonado and Kobayashi have influences in this one, but I still pin a fair amount of responsibility to both guys on this one. Hamilton for not yielding. I mean, he could cause a collision by yielding, but we don't know. We can only speculate at this point. But on top of that, Grosjean was way too aggressive in his cut to the right. I know he did it for a reason, because he was avoiding Kobayashi, who was going very slow off the line, but it doesn't mean you have to go so far to tag Lewis Hamilton, who probably had little idea what was going on, because F1 wing mirrors apparently are terrible. I don't know for sure. Now, was it fair to ban Grosjean? Here is the $1 million question here, because I had to think long and hard about this, in the sense of when was the last time a driver was banned for a racing incident? And the only one I can think of was Ayrton Senna when he banged into Alain Prost at Suzuka. I think that was 1990 or 89. I can't remember the exact year. I remember getting this from the Senna movie, and he was banned for a year. I think that was mainly due to corruption, because the FIA president was French and loved Alain Prost like a son. But point remains, that's the last time I can think of a driver being banned for a racing incident. Normally, if you cause a collision, you get a 10 pace grid penalty. That happened to Michael Schumacher when he banned into Bruno Senna at Catalonia. It's happened to Pastor Maldonado this season for stuff like banging Perez and things like that. And then I think he got a 5 place grid penalty for hitting Timo Glock during the race after the safety car pulled in. Just in general, it just seems like the general rule of thumb is if you cause a collision, you get a 10 place grid drop. Why all of a sudden has Grosjean been given a 1 race ban then? I mean, this is a very extreme penalty to take. I don't know whether it's the FIA throwing the book and trying to make an example out of Grosjean by saying, look, here's to all you aggressive drivers. If you keep doing this, we're going to do this. We're going to throw the book at you. We're going to suspend you. Now, I don't want to play the obvious card here, but shouldn't Pastor have gotten a race ban by now for the multiple incidents he's been involved in? I mean, I looked this up. Grosjean has been in racing incidents / collisions in 7 of 12 races so far this season. That's over 50%. Now, the problem with that theory as well is that not every collision in that circumstance was Grosjean's fault. He was tagged by Pastor in Australia. It's a 50-50 with Schumacher at Malaysia. Many times, Grosjean's been collected and it hasn't been his fault either. So, as much as he's been involved in 7, not all 7 were his fault. But at the same time, he has had a knack of being an aggressive passer. He had contact with Raikkonen at Hungary when he was trying to pass him. He had contact at Catalonia when trying to pass people as well. So, Grosjean's got a reputation. Now, has that influenced the FIA in any way? It may have done. It reminds me of Marc Marquez getting a 1-minute ban in MotoGP for all the incidents he'd been involved in, but then the MotoGP board threw that out. They changed their minds because they realised we're kind of punishing him for reputation rather than actual breach of the rules. So yeah, it's a difficult one to judge. I think it's an extremely harsh penalty personally, and I think the FIA has shown some double standards here because they don't ever ban people for collisions. They don't. It's a period, and it's happened a lot this season. Did the FIA snap and just realise, okay, screw it, we're going to throw the book at this guy? I don't get it. I'd love to hear what you guys think on this one. Let me know below what you think. I hope you enjoyed this special video, and I'll catch you guys later this week for the Racing Game Chronicles. I've been Harris101, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Sayonara.